Welcome to Handcrafted by GR Broussard. I'm Greg Broussard, and today we have to make 54 inches of shelving for this old antique China display cabinet. I need to make some spacing, and it's got to look just like this one, which matches the pretty much the original, almost exactly. And the customer doesn't want me to bring the piece to the shop, so I have to do it here, then bring the parts and finish cutting the parts at his house. So I need to go ahead and establish my profile, and we're going to do that with a number 55. That's the only thing that I have in the shop that'll cut it. I could probably go find a router bit to do it, but by the time I find one, I'll already be done with this. So we're going to go ahead and cut these little beads in here, and they're slightly rounded, and we have to put that round in by hand. This is the piece that I'm working on, and these are the spacers that were in there, and I'm tasked to cut spacers to go into the shelf. The shelves are sloped down, and the spacers should take care of that issue. Establish a nice clean surface from the factory, and fortunately I can use my Stanley number 5 on that. I just refurbished this. Works beautifully. This is the first time I actually get to use it on a job, so I'm super excited about it. It works great. And we're just going to clean the surface up, and then we're going to run the Stanley number 55 on there, make our groove. That's probably all I need right there. That looks good. This is a number 55. It's got all kind of crazy adjustments on here. It's got a bunch of blades that come with it. You can take them in and out. I've got my fence set. This is the fence. I've got my skate set. These are the skates. This is the depth adjuster. I've got that set. This tool is set up. Okay, we put our depth stop. Now we got to clean it up. Off my sample, my test piece that I cut, and from the original, this is rounded just a little bit, and all these little fuzzies in here have got to go away. I'm going to come in a moment with my shoulder plane, but before I do that, I'm going to get my little board that I made. It's rounded on the front. Put this in some sandpaper, and this is 150, and I'm just going to come through the grooves and clean up these fuzzies all along this entire board. You can see from my test piece, these corners are just a little rounded. On this one, they haven't been rounded yet. So I'm going to first come in with a shoulder plane, because I can get in there with the blade with the shoulder plane. I'm going to start rounding these corners with the shoulder plane, and I'll come back with the sandpaper and I'll start rounding those corners over with that. I'll just take a very slight pass with this, with just little tiny shavings coming off the corner of this, so I can start rounding this over, and I'll do the same to all the corners, because it's too square, and the original one isn't square. Just have to be very careful so I don't have to recut it. And slowly it's becoming rounder, and then I'll get my sandpaper. I'll put my sandpaper in there, finish off the curve. So every time I'm coming out, I'm rotating. Every time I do a pass, I'm rotating it up and just rounding a little bit. I'll do the other side. Just set a little bit lighter on this side. I'll turn my tool, rotate it just a little bit. You can see how little we're taking off. You can see a slight angle on the inside of these where I ran the shoulder plane to take that material off. I'm going to come back with my little tapered sticks, boards, and I'm going to put this in here And then I'm going to round over those as I go through. I'll change the angle of my sandpaper. This is 120 paper, and I will start slowly rounding it. I will start with it straight, and then I will start pulling it down and getting a curve to that. And then I'll curve it this way to bevel it the other way, to give it a little round over the other way. And I'll work myself all the way down my piece, just like this. I came back with 220 and did the same thing. Now I'm going to come back and break these sharp corners. This is an older piece that these will be going on to, so these can't look new. And we have to round all the corners. You need to round them anyway, but to make it look right, we may have to round it more than normal. Now you can see from my test piece to the piece that I did, I've got this rounded over all the way down the piece. Now I can, I'll have to cut another part just like this because this is enough material. I'll do the same thing off camera, and then we'll have enough spacers to cut and install onto the shelf. I came through and I marked out where I need to cut for the spacers. Each one is an inch bigger than it needs to be for my measurements. That's just in case I screwed something up and I'll have some extra room. These are the spacers I just cut, and they fit in here nicely. It took a little bit to get those in there, and I'm using a car jack to level the shelf to fit my spacer exactly where it needs to go. So now I have to color these to match the cabinet. I have to come through and mark all my parts so I know where they go onto the cabinet. And so I'm going to use the Roman numeral system to do this. And I've got a numeric number there, but that's going to be sanded off and covered up with stain. So I'm going to go through and mark all of these, called marriage marks. If you were going to, if this part were to go into another part, you would mark this like this traditionally. And this is what, number 4. So that's a 1 and a V, or an I and a V. That's my first one. And then I'll just use a tiny V chisel. And that'll be my 4. I have all my marriage marks on my parts. Now when I sand it down and stain it, I will know where they go onto the piece. I'm going to stain this, and I finally figured out the right combination after having 1,000 different practices. So I finally figured the right stain, and it'll be this color. And I'm matching this top of the oak right here, which is closest to the color of the cabinets that I need to match. So it matches pretty well, and I'm going to use some gentle finishes and some Minwax. I'm going to mix them together. I know, not supposed to, but I'm going to do that anyway. So I figured out my ratio. It's actually 1-to-1 ratio. So I'm just going to use my little syringes, and I'll fill it all the way up. And seeing how I need quite a bit of stain, I'll do it quite a few times. So I'll have enough stain, I'll have to stop and remix it. But I do know the ratio, so it's not going to be that bad of a deal if I need to mix some more. So we'll mix these up. I'll do 3 of these and then 3 of the gentle finishes. And that probably is going to be enough stain to finish the parts. Have all the colors in there. We're going to mix it up, and we're going to start applying. I put these little hooks on so I can hang and dry these. So I'm going to stain, wipe it off a little bit, hang and let it dry, and then we'll finish it up with some Mohawk products. I have all the spacers hanging, and they're going to dry for a while. Now, since these are dry, I'm just using the little hook on the bottom of it, putting it in the vise so I can hold it, so I can spray it And I'm going to use the Mohawk products. I'm going to use a Perfect Brown, and I'm going to use Brown Cherry. I'm going to first go with the Brown Cherry, let it dry, then come back with the Perfect Brown. That'll darken it up, the color that we need for the final product. Just very lightly spray this. Now I'm going to come back with the Brown Cherry and give it that little different color that we need. If necessary, I'll come back with the brown again, with the Perfect Brown to darken it. And after I spray it, I'm gonna let all this dry, and I'm gonna put some shellac on the parts. Shellac would be the original finish they had on this piece. I'm just gonna use a spray shellac. Let this dry, and then if we need to, one more coat, and then we'll shellac it. Now I'll come by with some spray shellac and go ahead and shellac these parts. Now I just have to let them dry, and they should be complete, color should match, and then I can install them. I went to the customer's house and I held these next to the furniture, and they were way too bright, so I'm darkening them down. This is probably exactly the right color. So from off the drawer, this looks like the right color, but it is too light. You can see how light that is in comparison to the one that I just did. So to tone this down, I'm using the Extra Dark Walnut, the Ultra Classic Toner, Extra Dark Walnut, and that seems to bring the color down to where that I need it. And then I'm just doing a quick shellac over top of that. So we'll go back once this is dry. I'll go back later today and then hopefully just drop them off and I'll just leave them there because it should work this time. The job is complete. All the spaces are installed. Looks really nice.